You may remember from a few years back, David Robert Mitchell's It Follows, which was a horror film which garnered a lot of attention. And Under the Silver Lake is the follow-up film to that. And it's nothing like It Follows, like, at all. It was very difficult watching this film, trying to pinpoint any similarities to It Follows, which I think is quite remarkable to be able to achieve that. Just having made a few films already, and to already have two here that are just on completely different wavelengths, I think is impressive. If you were to just put quality aside here and just look at these films from a filmmaking standpoint, you'd struggle to find any similarities aside from maybe some of the camera usage here, some of the close-up shots and stuff like that, and maybe the usage of the score, I guess. But I think even that is reaching a little bit, because the score in It Follows was way more prominent and way more impactful than it is here. And Under the Silver Lake is a completely strange, weird odyssey, man. Look, this is one of those films that you could write think pieces for days and days and days, because trying to unpack all the themes and all of the story arcs in this film, like, you're gonna struggle to come up with anything that ties this all together. And at many points throughout this film, I just kept thinking, is this all one big parody? Is this bizarre piece of art just all one big parody of crime films, of the noir type, Hitchcock type films? Is it all just attempting to be a big joke of all of that? Because the way Andrew Garfield's character goes about things just seems completely inhumane at points, completely devoid of any rationality. You see him attempt to make so many links between things that just aren't linked together at all, and yet somehow they are kind of linked. It just kind of got me thinking, is this just kind of mocking the viewer here? Is the viewer being mocked here by just making you try and make links yourself in the same way that Andrew Garfield's character was doing? And somehow that was what ended up making the film work. I mean, I was never bored throughout this film whatsoever. Just watching this film unfold the way it did was consistently intriguing, and it impressed me, honestly, as how many twists and weird turns it kept taking, because it does get wacky at points. And yet I didn't really find my enjoyment wavering, honestly. The one thing holding this film back is definitely the length. I mean, it really needs to have cut off some of the fat, but even with the length itself, makes it all the more impressive thinking how much they pack in to the runtime, and how they sort of throw in all these scenes that don't seem to really make sense, but yet they somehow add to the film too. It does make it more impressive thinking about it that kind of way. Having looked into a few theories sort of briefly, you can see that some people are linking this film to the idea of the male gaze, and that is actually brought up throughout the film as well, where Andrew Garfield is walking around and there's this person, protesting and just speaking about the male gaze as well, which may be a link to the film itself, or it just could be completely random. But you can sort of see how people would make that link anyway, because you've got this character here who just somehow looks at a girl and she looks at him, and he manages to, get in bed with her instantaneously without really doing anything at all. And he is kind of a narcissistic character as well. Like, his whole way of going about this, he's almost making it all about him. He's trying to find out information, but he's doing it for his own gain, I feel, throughout this film. I mean, towards the end, he calls up the girl who's been missing the whole film, and she's like, why are you calling me? What are you doing? Like, and it's sort of this idea that he seems to feel as though he's this important that she would care about that, but she kind of just doesn't really at all. And so the theory of the male gaze does make sense, I think, based on that. But I think the film is way smarter than that. I don't think the film is as surface level as just having something as basic as the male gaze as its main theme. I just honestly don't think a film as ambitious as this, because this is very ambitious and strange, not for your average casual viewer, would just be as straightforward as, well, this is all just about the male gaze, and it'd be a pretty disappointing way to take the film, I feel. I think the film is more about the toxicity of narcissism and the whole stuff with getting girls at any point, and the way he looks at women as just objects is honestly just a symptom of his own narcissism. I mean, he sees himself as someone who is way more important than they actually are, and in the grander scheme of things, he unfortunately realizes that he actually isn't that important, and he wishes his life went a different way, as he says to one of his friends throughout the film. And so because of that, he's essentially doing anything he can to break out of that and be important. And by doing that, he just leaves behind so many other important factors of his life. Like, he's constantly smelling awfully every time he has an encounter with someone. They bring up the fact that he just smells terrible, and the fact that he's not paying his rent, he's not paying for anything. All of these are just the consequences of his own actions and his own narcissism. But that's just my theory of this film. I feel like that's essentially what this film is attempting to achieve, but that's just one theory, and I feel like you could dig into this film way further than that and find way more way more themes that they're trying to go with here. But one thing that's definite about this film is that it is incredibly bizarre, it's strange, it's wacky. At points it definitely feels like it's being wacky for the sake of being wacky, which does hold it back for me. But it certainly is not your typical film. Andrew Garfield's performance is fantastic throughout this film. Another example of a film that could be his best performance yet. He's got a few under his belt already, but this one is definitely up there, I think. And I think this is not exactly Mulholland Drive, but, it's trying. It's a very intriguing film that I think needs multiple viewings. I certainly need to give this another watch, but I'm just impressed with how much it got me thinking. It got me thinking way more than It Follows did, and I'm just astounded by what the hell I have witnessed with this film. But please let me know what you think of this film. I'd love to hear more theories and more concrete ideas, because I'm just kind of bouncing ideas around here, and I'm not even sure if any of it sticks or makes sense. But hey, yeah, I love talking about films that make me think this way. So thank you for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, and goodbye.